Thank you very much, and a very good evening to you all. In fact, you are just as welcome as you ever were to our annual Sports Review of the Year. And our guests in the television theatre here tonight are the people who've put us through a nail-biting edge of our seats here, but in the end, they've all given us the most enormous pleasure, and really, it is very, very good to have you all with us here tonight. Well, now then, just feast your eyes on this little lot over here. Now, never before have so many of these most famous and coveted trophies ever been in one place at one and the same time. And, for example, all the trophies presented at Wembley are here. You can see the FA Cup, the Rugby League Challenge Cup here at the back, and all the big ones, in fact, many of the big golf trophies are here, and, in fact, just about all the cricket trophies from the County Championship to the Ashes. And they are insured for £1 million. And I can tell you that there are several members of the heavy mob loitering in the wings here to make certain they stay exactly where they're put. Well, now then, the only trophy that hasn't got a home at the moment is this one over here. And that won't be for long, because at the end of the programme, it will be presented to the sportsman or woman you've decided is your personality of 1975. Now, one young man left it, I think, a little bit late, perhaps, to collar enough votes to win this trophy, but nevertheless, we're going to give him pride of place tonight. He's joining us by satellite from New York, the new world welterweight boxing champion, John H Stracey.
John H Stracey from Bethnal Green has achieved something that's defied almost all British boxers of my lifetime. He strode into his opponent's stronghold and captured the world title. Now, John will be talking with us in just a few moments, but first let's enjoy again the way he defied all the considerable odds ranged against him. Tackled Jose Napoles, one of boxing's greatest champions, on Napoles' own ground in Mexico City, and came out world champion. And yet, at the start, it looked as if we were in for the old familiar story of British defeat. The fight had hardly begun before Napoles, at this point still fresh and strong, hit Stracey with a barrage of punches that had the European champion in serious trouble. There's the left hook, there's a following right, and Stracey finds trouble in the opening seconds, and the left hook puts him on the floor. Just the sort of trouble we thought he might have, and he's got it. He's up early, and he's deciding to squat and take the full compulsory 8 count. Stracey was never again in real trouble, despite being cut. By the 6th round, the young Briton knew the title was his for the taking. The old champion's strength had gone. And Napoles faces defeat in his own capital city. If Stracey can only keep this up, the champion has slowed down to nothing, and this crowd, apart from a few cheers, they know that something is wrong with Napoles. He's trying hard and getting nowhere. And all the encouragement now is coming from the British corner. They can be heard above everybody else in this Mexican ballroom. A few Britons in the crowd, but they're making all the noise because Stracey is going on to win. He's got his man reeling all over the place, and Napoles can't do anything about it. Back to the ropes again. Nothing in the champion's punches. And Stracey puts it all in, punch after punch, and he's been pulled off because that's too much for Napoles, and Stracey has won the welterweight championship of the world, and he's been pulled down by his jubilant corner. Stracey, 25, the European champion from Bethnal Green, has won the world welterweight championship in Mexico City. John Stracey in New York, many, many congratulations. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thanks, Harry. Yes, very well.
Marvellous. You must have had a marvellous few days.
Oh, fantastic.
Now, listen, we've got a theatre full of people here. We're in the television theatre in Shepherd's Bush, and among the people here are your mum and dad. Now, they can't talk to you, but you can talk to them. So if you've got a message for them, would you like to say something?
Yeah. Yeah, hi, Mum and Dad. I'm very grateful, you know, that you're there this evening. I miss you very much, Mum. And I can't wait to see you Friday. And I told you I'd win the world title. And you know, it's just great. I can't wait to see you.
John, that's lovely. Now listen, let's talk a little bit about the fight now. That first round, you had a bit of trouble. How bad was it?
Well, it caught me a fantastic left hook, I must admit. But I got up on the count of 3 and I half bent. But from there, you know, I was perfect.
I see you've got a little bit of a nick by your left eye. It doesn't look all that bad with that little bit.
There's no stitches at all.
Mm-hmm. When did you first feel that you might have the man going?
Round about the 3rd round, when I caught him with a good left hook, and he half buckled and went down, and I knew that I had him there.
Now, you know, there's been a little bit of controversy. The story's out in the papers here today, John, about the punch that you threw at him after he'd gone down. And he's making a big protest now and saying that you're not really the world champion and he wants it taken away in a rematch. Now, what have you got to say about all
that? It's ridiculous, you know, because if that's so, you know, why use the thumbs in the eye?
Well, it took a long time
to use.
It took a long time to he took a long time to protest about. I mean, he went on for another 3 rounds anyway, and then went on for another 3 days after that before he made any fuss.
Yeah, well, he's probably just looking for a good way out.
Right. Now, you're coming back Friday, right?
Yes, Friday.
Now, I've got a message for you from the mayor of Bethnal Green, because on Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they want to give you a civic reception. Do you think you can be home in time for that?
Yeah, sure. I'll be home in time.
Oh, well, don't forget the time. That's 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. They want you in Bethnal Green. Now, we've got a lot of your boxing mates here, I'm sure just as pleased about your success as we are. And one of them, of course, is the other John, who's also a British boxing world champion, John Conteh. Just quickly, John, what about that hand, that right hand? Is it coming on?
Yeah, I seen a specialist today, Ali, and he said it's okay to start punching with it gently and using it in the gymnasium, so I'll be back in training next week.
Oh, that's good news. Now, listen, as one world champion to another, would you like to give John Stracey a message for us?
Yeah, first of all, John, I hope you can hear me there. I'd like to say congratulations on your great achievement.
Thanks very much, John.
Not only did you win the world title, but you beat a great champion, one of the greatest fighters, welterweight champions of all time, which is incredible, and you fought against all the odds, and it was fabulous. Now, what I particularly liked is there was very few opportunities which presented them in the fight, but what ones did present them, you really seized them with both hands. It was incredible. It was fantastic. Congratulations once again.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much, John Stracey, and thanks for joining us in the programme tonight. Thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing you back here.
Yeah, I'll see you all Friday.
Bye.
Goodbye.
It's 25 years since Britain could boast of 2 world boxing champions at the same time. In 1950, Rinty Monaghan was world flyweight champion, and the late Freddie Mills, world light heavyweight champion. But now, in 1975, we have John Stracey, world welterweight champion, and John Conteh, the world light heavyweight champion. Conteh, of course, won his title last year, but all the same, this year, Conteh of Liverpool had to lay the world championship on the line at Wembley in March against America's hard-hitting Lonnie Bennett. Conteh carried off the fight with cool composure, although Bennett was a dangerous opponent who'd beaten several good men inside the distance. But this fight hadn't gone far before Conteh's punching began to turn. He staggered him with a left hook. And now Bennett's left eye bleeding quite copiously. That's a bad eye and it's bleeding badly. Bennett's had real trouble now. He's in really bad trouble. His face is screwed up in agony and anxiety and worry. He's got a really shocking eye. And Bennett doesn't want to go on with that eye, and I can't say I'm surprised. It's a shocking cut. And Conteh has defended the world light heavyweight title, stopping Bennett in the 5th round. Next year, America is more likely to see Conteh than we are. It was Manila who saw the fight of the year, the 3rd and deciding contest between Ali and Frazier. We always knew Frazier would make it tough for Ali, and Ali must have known it too. How he must have wished he could just pick up the trophy like this. Frazier fought his heart out. A lesser man than Ali would have cried enough. Ali admitted later he almost did.
That's the left hook again, Frazier. That's the one that put guard, and he got right in on that one, winged it home over the top of the guard, and he's done that several times now in the last couple of rounds.
An epic battle came to its close in the 14th round.
Fraser's left eye is shutting, his mouth is bleeding, and for the first time he's looking an out-and-out loser. The pace, the exhaustion, the punching has got to Fraser at last. He's reeling all over the ring, and Ali can take him out if he's got the strength. And Eddie Mutch is calling it off. He's calling it off. It's all over.
The winner collapsed too, but he still managed to sum it up.
Oh, it was a thriller in Manila.
Well, I have to tell you that, true to form, Muhammad Ali, the champ, sends us all his fondest regards tonight. He says he can't be with us because, in his own words, he's put a moratorium on his mouth. That's what he says. Now then, compared with the acres of silver and gold plate we've got here tonight, this is a small, modest, in fact, if you think about it, it's quite a ridiculous little trophy. And yet these are the Ashes, the greatest prize in cricket, the cause of all that sweat and fury every time England and Australia play in a test series. Well, now then, if you give a cricketer, let me tell you, a bit of sun on his back and a big crowd, then he'll play his socks off for you. And that's exactly what cricketers got and did in 1975. And as we sit here on this dark December evening, we're going to conjure up for you those hot summer days and the struggle for the Ashes, which shared the limelight with a new box office attraction. The sunshine gave the first ever World Cup the opportunity to rocket into successful orbit. The crowds flocked in to see the stars in action. Dennis Lillee was back in the spotlight to join his Australian colleague Jeff Thomson in the world's fastest opening partnership. The oval crowd drew breath as they launched themselves at the pride of West Indian batting. Alvin Kallicharran was unimpressed.
That's a hook for 4, and it's third bounce. And he's done it again.
Lillee again. It's a beautiful hit. Magnificent hit, picked up from roundabout leg stump.
The West Indies were jubilant, and the whole cricketing world marvelled at little Kallicharran's virtuoso performance. At Headingley on semi-final day, Gary Gilmore, playing his first game for Australia, skittled England out for 93.
And he's bowled him. And Gilmore having a fantastic start here. And that's a brilliant catch, a beautiful catch by Marsh.
Gilmore's analysis, 6 for 14. What a debut. And although England had Australia 39 for 6 in reply, the Aussies joined West Indies for a never-to-be-forgotten final. Lords, bathed in sunshine, staged a match in which the huge crowd watched Clive Lloyd score a century of breathtaking violence.
That's hoisted away into the backstop balcony. A tremendous blow by Clive Lloyd. And really hammered that square for 4. And there's no way you can bowl to a man like Clive Lloyd when he's in this sort of form. Magnificent hook shot out of the ground. Superb shot there by Lloyd. The West Indian crowd on their feet. He got it in no uncertain terms. Beautiful flashing cover drive. Typical of the man. The bat raised. The crowd on their feet. And what a delightful exhibition this has been by Clive Lloyd.
West Indies 291 for 8, a seemingly impossible task for Australia, who conceded 5 run-outs. But how close Lillee and Thomson came in a frantic last-wicket partnership.
And that's it. That's it. He's told him to go back. The overthrow off a no ball again. And over come the crowd. They think it's over. They didn't see the no ball signalled, and these two batsmen are still running, and it's absolute chaos out there. Nobody knows what's happened. They can keep on running. Lily says, keep going. We can run 10 here. Because nobody can find the ball. The crowd are on the field. Thompson, who's played so well for his 21. And he's out. What a way to end the match. And I've never seen cricketers move as quickly, gathering the sacred stumps.
At the end, the margin of the West Indies victory was a mere 17 runs, and the great man who'd carved it with his own bat held aloft the first World Cup. The rain did fall occasionally, and it was the weather which decided the Test series between England and Australia. At Edgbaston, Mike Denness won the toss, put Australia in, and then England were caught on a wet wicket.
Oh, what a good delivery. And I fear that that may be Mike Denness's last innings as captain of England.
England's cricket captain, a joy when you're winning, but nowhere does the axe fall more swiftly when you're not. At Lord's, Tony Greig was the New England skipper. Dennis Lillee heralded the event with a devastating opening spell.
Oh, that must be close. Yes, indeed. The first wicket for Australia, Barry Wood. That's well bowled. Edridge, the second wicket down.
England 4 for 49, all of them to Lillee, and a captain's innings needed from Tony Greig. The young man rose to the occasion.
Well played, standing up pretty straight and driving it on the up to 4, square on the offside.
At the other end, David Steele of Northamptonshire, winning his first cap at 33 and in his benefit year. It was a surprise selection to everybody, but he played wonderfully well.
David Steele going through to his 50, hammering that off the back foot through to mid-wicket. And what a great performance this has been from David Steele of Northamptonshire. The cricketer's choice, really, for a place in this Test side. And how well he's merited his inclusion.
David Steele, 50 in his first Test match, and it didn't end there. He was a model of consistency throughout the rest of the series, and the Australians were baffled by him. Common sense, determination and character, they were all there in abundance.
Steele, a fine shot, using his feet beautifully down the pitch, and it's into the crowd. A great six then by David Steele.
That's in the air, and it's right over Walker's head, just in front of the boundary, into the fence on the first bounce, just below us here.
Steele's reliability was backed by John Edrich and Bob Woolmer, England's only century makers. Phil Edmonds of Middlesex, slow left-arm bowler, also made a dramatic Test debut. At Headingley, he took 5 Australian wickets for 17 in only 12 overs.
And that must be, yes, LBW first ball, and so what a fairy tale start for Phil Edmonds.
Out. Caught it slip. And Chris
The wicket may have suited Edmonds, but he warmed the hearts of those who love to see a youngster doing well for England. Sadly, on the final day, with England poised for victory, the Test series actually ended in the small hours of the morning, and the crowds were never readmitted. The supporters of the imprisoned George Davis made holes in the wicket and poured oil where the ball would pitch. The game was abandoned, and the final Test at the Oval was drawn, so Australia kept the Ashes by 1 victory to 0. So a really eventful summer of cricket in all senses of the word, and particularly for David Steele here. David, when you were picked for that Test match, a Northamptonshire butcher said he'd give you a lamb chop for every single run you made. How many lamb chops did you end up with?
3 tests. Oh, I don't know, 266 or something like that, 267. Wonderful chops.
How are they lasting out?
I picked up the last supply last week, which is around about 107 lamb chops and 20 steaks. He was short on 2. I'll tell him next week.
Well, knowing you, I'm sure you'll be chasing up those 2, won't you?
No, don't worry.
I wouldn't have thought... I wouldn't have thought you had much chance to eat the chops. I mean, every time I go to a dinner these days, you're there. I mean, how many functions have you been to since you made all those runs?
Quite a few. I should think, oh, I don't know. I've lost count, I think. 40, 50 or something like that.
Really? What surprised you most of all about suddenly being thrust into the limelight like that?
What
surprised you most of all?
Well, I think what was surprising, I was picked for a start. But I enjoyed it while I was there.
Yeah.
It was a great game, and there's no doubt about it. Test cricket is Test cricket, and it's got a wonderful atmosphere.
But, you know, you're a pretty steady, phlegmatic sort of person. Do you lie in bed and think back on that Test series and think, my God, that was really marvellous?
I haven't had time to lie in bed and think about it yet. I'm tired, I think, at the present. Probably I'll think about that next year.
Lovely. Well, best of luck next year. We have another great success story in English cricket this year, Ray Illingworth, captain of Leicestershire, of course, who won a marvellous double this year, Ray, in the Championship of the Benson Hedges Cup. Actually, thinking of David Steele here, he is much your kind of cricketer, isn't he? Gritty and tenacious, huh?
Very much so. He's 100% for the whole game, and obviously a captain can't ask for more than that. But I've just been watching the way he wears that cricket hat of his. I think I'd have went in for the Grand National. Yeah.
Actually, he'd have made a very good Yorkshireman, wouldn't he?
I think he would, the way he plays the game, yes.
Yeah. Tell me, what about Leicestershire? You've put a marvellous team together there this year, haven't you?
Yes, we've worked tremendously hard for 7 years. Everybody in the club, right from the staff right down, you know, the office staff right down, the ground staff, the lot. And it's a tremendous achievement to do what they have done this year, and it's all credit to the players.
Well, thank you both very much indeed. I have a feeling we'll be seeing you both again next year. And, of course, the sunshine had a tremendous lot to do with the success of cricket last year. And I suppose, really, the cricketing summer will doubtless be talked of in exactly the same breath as the 1947 heatwave, when, of course, Dennis Compton and Bill Edrich ran riot. Well, now, another sport which took full advantage of the weather this year was athletics. The season actually began rather dismally in June with Britain's biggest ever defeat in East Germany. Yet a few weeks later, the crowds flocked into Crystal Palace for the Europa Cup semi-final. With Russia, Poland and Sweden heading the opposition, we wondered if Britain could even qualify for the final. Yet our men never looked back from the moment that Bill Hartley, standing in for the injured Alan Pascoe, took the 400 metres hurdles by storm.
And Hartley's gambled everything. He's right up on the pole now. And can he stay? Britain lead, Polo second. Hartley changed legs then as he came to that. And Hartley leads off the bend. An astonishing run by the Liverpool Harrier. He's beating the pole now by 5-6 yards. Hartley coming home for Great Britain. One hurdle to go. And this most unexpected. Hartley 3-4 yards clear. Can he stay? And it's a win for Great Britain. Hartley wins for Great Britain. And Pascoe isn't missed.
It was like that again and again. The crowds inspired the athletes, our athletes rewarded the crowds. Jeff Capes, the 6'6", 21-stone shot-putting policeman, once again made sure that field events received a fair share of attention. Although he didn't quite make 70 feet this year, Capes won both the Europa Cup semi-final and final. On his day, he could win an Olympic medal next year. Inevitably, Brendan Foster was the idol of the crowds again. Thousands were locked out of Crystal Palace on the second day of the Europa Cup semi-finals, and those who were inside saw Foster destroy his 5,000-metre rivals.
And so Foster comes home now, really wrapping it up and winding it on to give the crowd a show down the finishing strip. Foster, some 180 metres clear of the rest. Another winner for Great Britain.
Devotion rewarded. And with 8 outright wins and a string of less exalted performances, Britain not only qualified, but finished a single point behind the leading country, Poland. But could the euphoria survive 5 weeks and the journey to Nice for the Europa Cup final? In the opening track event, Alan Pascoe, fit again, had the answer.
Pascoe's gone storming off. For the first to rise with the man in lane 2, Friedrich of West Germany, has gone off very quickly, and Nally's holding Pascoe down the back straight. Nally of France closing up on Pascoe, and he's making his presence felt as Pascoe goes right up on the East German Meyer. Down the back straight, and Nally is the leader for France, and Pascoe just outside him, and he's aware that Nally is right there. And Nally's gone up tremendously fast with them through the first 200 metres, and Pascoe's got a motor from here on now, and there's Pascoe really beginning to hit it now, and Nally's closing with him. They have moved together over that hurdle, there's 3 barriers left. And it's Pascoe coming away with Nally now. Pascoe with a slight lead, Nally in second place. And in third place, Fire of East Germany. Here comes Pascoe with 1 flight to go. What a battle this is. Pascoe trying to make it straight, sell speed, and he's clear over the last, and Nally hits it, and that decided the race. Pascoe goes storming home in front to win.
Another victory in a season in which Pascoe beat all his Olympic rivals, 1 by 1. Another old reliable, David Jenkins, having his finest season, won the 400 metres.
Coming up to the halfway mark, also going well is Hofmeister on the outside and Kokahaho of Finland, but it's Jenkins in lane 2, coming to the crown of the bend, and this is where the stagger unwinds now, and you can see the true places. Kokahaho of Finland is going well, Jenkins though on the inside, leads for Great Britain, Finland second, Poland third. That's the order into the straight with Jenkins now responding to the challenge of Kokahaho, and the finish closing up on Jenkins, and this is going to be desperately close, but Jenkins retains his form to the tape, and it is close.
Jenkins, who won the American Championships in June, also anchored our relay team to its usual victory. And then there was Steve Ovett. 19 years old, he startled his 800 metres rivals. It was rather like a champagne cork bursting out of its bottle.
Under 300 to go, and Ovett still not off the curve. And there is a lot of barging away, and Ovett came right through the lot. Ovett made the decisive move. There's a lot of knocking and bumping, and 200 metres gone, and he's stolen the lead. Steve Ovett, the youngest man on the field at 19. 5-6 yards clear, and he's taken them all by surprise. Dieter Fromm struggling in second place. Kaseki is third. The Russian fourth. And Kaskadin, the European bronze medalist, is fifth. But Ovett is clearing away, and surely nothing can stop him now. He's got 50 metres left, and Ovett, the youngest man in the field at 19, gets another win for Britain.
6 victories in all, and despite the lack of overall strength, Britain finished 4th in Europe. João Oliveira of Brazil set a remarkable field event record, stretching the triple jump to 58 feet, 8 1/4 inches, 1 foot 5 1/2 inches more than the previous world best. It was an achievement which ranks with Bob Beamon's fabulous long jump in the 1968 Olympic Games, and in the same Mexico City stadium. And John Walker of New Zealand became the first man to beat 3 minutes 50 for the mile. At the IAC meeting in September, we saw a demonstration of his blazing finishing speed.
Walker goes to the front. Boyd can't resist yet. And the world record holder gets 3-4 yards clear. Boyd challenging, but succumbing now to the quarry off the bend. It's Walker now, showing why he's the world record holder. Boyd battling for second against Dixon, but he's not going to win that. It's very close, but nobody is going to catch Walker.
John Walker, who lived out of a suitcase for 3 months and turned in world-class performances all over the globe. But even he was overshadowed by Brendan Foster, who in the same meeting ran the first 10,000 metres of his career.
And here comes Foster on the outside, and Hermans is coming too. It's Foster, Great Britain, and Hermans of Holland, and Foster now, 4 yards clear, and he's got the break he wanted, and they'll not catch him. Foster comes home, and after that initial break at 5 laps, he had his breather, and now he comes home in front to win the 10,000 metres. And that's the fastest time in the world in 1975.
Well, you see, Brendan Foster, everybody's applauding here in the television theatre as well. I mean, at the end of a thing like that, when you stand there and you applaud and the crowd applauds, I mean, that's really boys' own paper stuff to the fans. I mean, what do you feel like down there?
Well, Frank, it's a pleasure to be part of that, especially on an evening after seeing such world-class athletics. Then to finish it off and be fortunate enough to win. And the crowd being as they are, it really is a pleasure to be part of.
But when you think that most of them have come to see you run, they've come to see Brendan Foster, you seem to carry that responsibility very lightly, don't you?
Oh, well, you know, they haven't really just come to see me, Frank. There's 1 or 2 others who are not bad.
Well, there's one of them here alongside you, Alan Pascoe. How many races? 22 races, only 1 defeat all season?
23.
23. They get more all the time, I talk to you.
Well, I'm trying to encourage people to think that I ran more races than I actually did.
I see. And the best of them, which pleased you most?
I think the Nice one, because I've never felt pressure like that before a race, having been injured. And then the Coca-Cola meeting, because obviously it was home crowd, Crystal Palace.
Can you tell me why it started all so badly against East Germany, when morale must have been very, very low, and then it all got good and came marvellous at the end, didn't it? Why was that?
Well, obviously it's difficult to produce any sort of team performance against the East Germans because they are so strong, they have so much depth. But I think it's a bit early in the season, and the sudden warm weather and the change for the team, and I just don't think we're quite prepared for that sort of onslaught.
Yeah, fine. Well, thank you very much indeed. Jeff Capes. I tell you what you've done, Jeff Capes. You, in fact, have made people watch field events, haven't you? And I suspect that that's really what you've been wanting to do all the time. You're very keen on that, aren't you? and the Iron Curtain. They were absolutely miles ahead of Australia, and we know exactly what the strength of their swimming has been year in, year out, and they were bettered only by the Americans. In fact, it's a truly remarkable team effort from what has so long been one of our Cinderella sports. And for that, Britain's swimmers here are our Team of the Year. Well, now to present the award, we have a man who is fully acquainted with the need for team spirit and effort in another field. The man who this year masterminded and led British climbers to the top of Mount Everest by the most difficult route. Will you welcome Chris Bonnington?
There is, of course, one more trophy to be won tonight, and that, the most important of all, our Sports Personality of the Year award. Let's move on, then, in our coverage of the year's great events. The 1975 flat racing season produced one of the finest, most memorable races of the post-war era, Ascot's King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. It was a rare gem, shining brightly in an otherwise unhappy year for racing with its industrial unrest and financial gloom. But Grundy's win was sparkling in every way, securing for his owner, Dr. Carlo Vittadini, this marvellous diamond-studded cigar box and making Grundy, in terms of prize money, the most successful British-trained horse ever.
Even before Ascot, the Epsom and Irish Derby winner Grundy was on the verge of greatness. Against Bastino, the best colt of the previous generation, he was to prove himself the greatest since Mill Reef.
And it's Bastino, Joe Mercer, being pressed by Pat Emery, now Grundy, then Delia in third place as they race towards the furlong pole. It's Bastino and Grundy together. Then comes Delia, then On My Way. Bastino on the far side, Grundy on the near side, the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old. They race into the final 150 yards. And it's Grundy going on from Bastino and Delia and On My Way. Bastino's fighting his way back, but Grundy's holding him, and as they come to the line, Grundy wins it. Bastino's second, Delia's third.
Grundy, driven to the limit by Bastino and his pacemakers, had beaten the course record by over 2 seconds. Sadly, Grundy was retired before Europe's richest race, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, won in astonishing fashion by the green-hooded German challenger Star Appeal, brought from nowhere with a staggering run by Britain's Greville Starkey.
Only coming a challenge for England, and Star Appeal coming with a good run on the inside, the sprint right across the course, and On My Way coming there, and now Star Appeal has stormed to the front. Star Appeal for Germany has gone to the front from Conteh to Bough and On My Way, and as they come to the line, Star Appeal's going to win it at the line. Star Appeal is the winner, On My Way second, Conteh to Bough is third.
At 119 to 1, Star Appeal was the longest-priced Arc winner in history. The Cheltenham National Hunt Festival was condensed into 2 days after heavy rain. But Comedy of Errors, Jumping's Horse of the Year, simply sailed through the mud to recapture the champion hurdle and beat Arkle's stake earnings record. Comedy's win was a major triumph for his 31-year-old jockey Ken White, and it clinched the trainer's title for Fred Rymel. For once, even Fred Winter took second place. With Pendle injured, in the Gold Cup it was Buller on the near side and Soothsayer that challenged Ireland's 10 up, but mistakes at the last put paid to the Winter challengers. 10 up, trained by Jim Draper, gave Tommy Carberry his third Gold Cup win in 6 years, now in the famous Arkle colours. Carberry's luck was still running at Aintree, where he and Lescargo made their 4th attempt at the Grand National. But inevitably it was Red Rum with Brown Fletcher who was warm favourite to become the first triple national winner ever. Beaches saw the usual grief, but on the second circuit it became a duel between Red Rum and Lescargo. Who would have guessed that Red Rum was soon to have a new jockey?
As they come to the final fence in the National, in third place is Spanish Steps, and over the last they touch down together. On the right of the picture, it's Lescargo, Tommy Carberry. On the left, it's Red Rum, trying to make national history with Brian Fletcher, and he's the first under pressure, Red Rum. And Lescargo is going to avenge last year's defeat, and Tommy Carberry is going to become the first jockey in history to win the Gold Cup and the Irish National and the English National. As Lescargo strides clear, 12 years old, to win the National for Raymond Guest. And here he comes.
Red Rum's gallant failure left Lascargo the first horse since Golden Miller to win the Gold Cup and Grand National, and enabled his owner, Raymond Guest, to achieve the aim of a lifetime.
In the European three-day event championships in Germany, Great Britain was represented by an all-woman team for the first time. Princess Anne, Janet Hodgson, Sue Hatherley and Lucinda Pryor-Palmer, whose faultless round on Be Fair, over the cross-country course, put her comfortably in the lead in the individual competition.
A lovely turn over the log. Going really well, Lucinda Pryor-Palmer and Be Fair. She has 13.7 points in hand over Princess Anne. Very neat.
Although the British team finished second to Russia, Lucinda duly won the individual championship ahead of Princess Anne with a clear show jumping round.
Coming to the last. And she's clear. So Lucinda Pryor-Palmer is the new European champion, the individual European three-day event champion.
Alwyn Schockemoeller of West Germany won the European show jumping championship. Britain wasn't able to send a team to Munich since so many of our leading riders are now professional, but that doesn't detract from Schockemoeller's performance. Unarguably, he is the best amateur in the world and a warm favourite already for next year's Olympic title. As well as the European title, Schockemoeller virtually went through the card at the Royal International Horse Show at Wembley in July. But David Broome had his revenge in October at the Horse of the Year show. The German beat him on the first night, but Broome then won 7 classes, underlining his reputation as the world's leading professional rider.
Yes! Yes, he's done it, 43.2. David Broome again. David Broome goes into the lead with Filko, and the time is surely unbeatable.
How's your lip reading? I still can't make out what he's saying there. David Broome, a British sportsman who always does his country proud. Now, golf is not a sport in which British participants tend to make their name internationally. The point, I'm afraid, was only too well driven home this year as our golfers went under to the United States in both the Walker Cup for amateurs and the Ryder Cup for professionals. Fortunately, in golf, we're able to appreciate the great deeds of others, and American golfers particularly continue to bombard us with the most spectacular entertainment. One young man who did so was Johnny Miller, America's most successful golfer of 1974, with his 8 tournament wins. And it was his name we were hearing about again at the start of 1975.
It's only February, but here's Miller on his way to his 3rd win inside 2 months at the Bob Hope Desert Classic in Palm Springs. Miller's form at this time was so good, nothing seemed to be beyond him. Even the most difficult shots were touched with magic. Miller, the new hero. His name was on all lips. Yet even as he plays his winning putt, the man whose place Miller seems to be taking was waiting in the wings to put things in perspective. At the US Masters in April, Jack Nicklaus, who'd gone right through 1974 without winning a major title, struck the ball with all his old majesty, as if the incessant drum banging from Miller had finally woken him up. The Masters was a high noon showdown between Nicklaus, the wily sheriff, and Miller, the young gunslinger. The sheriff won. Even so, Miller banged in a fighting 66. He was only 1 behind Jack at the end. Nicklaus putts out to win. The first man ever to win the US Masters 5 times. At the age of 35, he'd won again when it mattered, and the name of Miller was no longer quite so magical. In June, the US Open near Chicago ran into stormy weather. Nicklaus was one of many who fluffed their chances. Young Ben Crenshaw at the 17th. The ball and his hopes find a watery grave. Undemonstrative Frank Beard at the 18th. Bunker. Normally reserved, even Beard is forced to his knees in despair. In the end, John Mahaffey was beaten by Lou Graham in a playoff. This putt wins Graham the US Open. He'd waited a long time for this first major success. Lou Graham is 38. Strangely, the British Open at Carnoustie also finished in a playoff. America's Tom Watson on the left and Australia's Jack Newton. They had a tremendous battle. Watson took an early lead with shots like this one, and after only 3 holes, he was 2 up.
That's a hammer blow.
But Newton, short-sleeved, despite cold and rain, stayed calm. And after 6 holes, he'd squared the match. There was no telling which way it would go.
This is like a sort of heavyweight contest, you know.
In drenching rain, Watson produced a masterstroke at the 14th, an eagle 3.
Well, there's the change out of that one, then.
It still wasn't over. At the 18th, they were all square. Watson.
So if he could just get this in, it's all on the last putt. Well done, Watson.
But it still wasn't over.
He has this to tie. What a moment in a man's life. Oh, dear, dear, dear. And whose heart doesn't bleed for Newton there?
Tom Watson, Open champion after only 4 years as a pro.
Wow, the agony, the ecstasy of the game of golf. Well, I suppose the Chinese might call 1975 the year of the leak. We've already applauded Wales's footballers for teaching the rest of us a thing or two about how to compete successfully in Europe. And now we have to record a stunning season by their rugby players, inspired by a new coach, John Dawes, and captain, Mervyn Davies.
And at the National Stadium, Cardiff, Wales clinched the championship, sweeping aside Ireland in one of the finest performances by a national team seen for years.
5 yards out now. Carpenter has it. Feeds to Edwards. Bennett, there could be a try on here. JPR Williams with JJ outside him. Gibson covering. He can't hold him. It's another try. Mervyn Davies tries to get the quick pass to Phil Bennett. Bennett, that elusive little run. JJ Williams, a bit of room to move. Windsor in support. Is he going to score like he did against Australia? It could be a try for Faulkner.
So the championship for Wales on the day that brought despair for Scottish supporters. With high hopes of a first Triple Crown since 1938, Scotland faced the old enemy England, but the Twickenham jinx was still there.
Morgan dummies. Morgan gives it to McCard. Into the space. Up goes Leslie. A lovely pick up by Warfield. Warfield kicking through. Over Irvin's head. Irvin in trouble. Morley the scorer.
Victory for England, though they were to lose both tests in Australia in the summer. But when the Wallabies came to Britain this season, at Murrayfield, their exhilarating brand of rugby met its match against Scotland last Saturday.
Good scrummage ball for Australia. Hindmarsh, Byrne on the dummy run. In comes Paul McLean. The interception for Ian McGeechan. McGeechan tackled by Hipwell. Gives it to Rennie. Rennie, can he get to the line? Across comes Paddy Batch. And it's a try for Rennie.
But this season we'll miss Willie John McBride, that giant amongst rugby men, whose final appearance at Lansdowne Road in his career of 5 Lions tours and 63 caps brought him his first and last try for Ireland.
Ireland 5 yards out. Willie John McBride. This is the moment to savour.
At Wembley, the Rugby League Cup final was a thrilling derby match between Widnes and Warrington. Widnes were camped on their opponent's line for long periods and were unfortunate not to score more than this one try.
To Lawton, to the next man to get the pass in. There should be something here. There is something to big Jim Mills.
Widnes, the underdogs, ran out winners by 14 points to 7, while the game's other major honours went to St Helens and to Leeds. The first Rugby League World Championship was won by Australia. They were at their best against Wales at Swansea.
inside from Eadie, and Eadie can run. There's a chance Schubert gets this, he'll be in. He'll be in with Schubert unless he can come across and take him. But Beard is in, and Beard gets the try, a brilliant try.
It was even better in the second half.
This is a good run by Johnny Beard. He's running for support, and he gives it to Schubert, who'll go for the corner. And Schubert going over. What a good try once again.
Although England won and drew against them, Australia's attacking flair made them worthy champions.
But actually, we have with us here tonight a number of elder statesmen who, like Willie John McBride, decided this year to withdraw from the fray. Mind you, we're not so sure how many of them really meant it. Colin Cowdrey, for example, summoned from his bath chair to take on Lillian Thompson in Australia, remember, and then scoring magnificent 150 off them for Kent when they came here in the summer. I think that if you're in Canterbury or Maidstone at the right time next year, you'll catch a glimpse of the old master. John Murray, well, we're pretty certain he meant it. A wonderful career for Middlesex and England, a credit to his sport and an example to everybody. Well, a full house at Lord's gave him a standing ovation, so John, there's no way you can come back. Cyclist Reg Harris, he's retired yet again, but we're convinced, actually, Reg, that you're taking a short breather until you reach 60, and then we reckon you'll make another dramatic comeback. Richard Pittman, he's traded in a distinguished career as a National Hunt jockey to join us as a commentator. Well, gentlemen, you know, you've given us and your sport marvellous, marvellous entertainment and service, and believe me, it has been our pleasure. Now, before we hear about the sports personality of the year, a touch of gymnastics, because this year we've had a feast of the very finest talents in the world laid before us. Turisheva, Corbett, and perhaps most remarkable of all, if only because of her age, Nadia Comaneci, who became the new European champion.
With the last-minute withdrawal by Olga Corbett, the world and Olympic champion Ludmila Turisheva was expected to retain her title without any difficulty. But it was the 13-year-old Nadia Comaneci who captivated the crowd. Comaneci was the new champion in only her second big international competition, and Ludmila Turisheva won only one bronze medal throughout the championships, in contrast to the young Romanian girl who won the overall title and 3 individual gold medals. Only one gymnast seemed to offer a threat to her World Cup hopes later in the year, Olga Corbett, the darling of the Wembley crowd. Ironically, it was Comaneci who withdrew this time. Olga Corbett seemed set to win her first ever major title. However, it was not to be. Although she sustained an ankle injury, Corbett was a long way behind her old adversary, Ludmila Turisheva, who put on a superb display of gymnastics in spite of everything.
That famous twist and the spring off the lower bar. And the twist again. And again. Let go the upper bar.
And the apparatus has collapsed, but she finished her exercise.
And she didn't even look back to see the cause of everyone's consternation. No one would have beaten her marks on the night, and with Nikolai Andrianov winning the men's event, Russia completed the double in the first ever World Cup.
Well, there we are. We've now seen the cream of the sporting action and met many of the personalities who've entertained us over the past 12 months. And we now come to the climax of our evening, the presentation to the sports personality of 1975. Now, the winner this year comes from one of the following, and I list them for you in alphabetical order, starting with our long-distance athletics star, Brendan Foster.
Foster, some 180 metres clear of the rest. Another winner for Great Britain.
James Hunt from motor racing. Another athlete, Alan Pascoe.
Pascoe trying to make his straight sell of speed, and he's clear over the mat. Pascoe goes storming home in front to win.
Cricketer David Steele.
Steele, a fine shot, and it's into the crowd. A great six then by David Steele.
Virginia Wade, who's playing tennis in America at the moment.
That's it.
And David Wilkie, our world champion swimmer.
And Wilkie, who is about 2 meters up, is stroking for home. And Wilkie touches now. And the time is 200.
So those are the top 6 names in the voting for the BBC Sports Personality of 1975. And here to announce the final result of the poll is the head of television sport, Sam Leitch.
Well, thank you once more. Many thanks indeed to all our viewers and tonight's audience, actually, for making this one of the happiest hours of the 1,200 hours of television sport we put out in 1975. I know the BBC likes the votes, and the Post Office is also very glad of the revenue, and has indeed been for the past 21 years. Anyway, straight away, it is the viewers' verdict. And as usual, we'll announce these in reverse order. And in third place, arguably, the best swimmer ever produced by this country, David Wilkie. And in second place, a man whom many think has the best chance of all of a gold medal in Montreal next July, Alan Pascoe. And finally, the 1975 Sports Choice Personality of the Year, the cricketer's cricketer, David Steele. And to present the award, we're delighted to introduce a man who has indeed one of the toughest tasks in 1976. The man who has to mastermind the Olympic Games, the president of the International Olympic Committee, Lord Killanin.
Before making this presentation to David Steele, who has earned it so meritoriously because of his courage, his concentration, and his sportsmanship, perhaps I could say a few words. Because one thing, I'm the most inappropriate person to present this award because I'm not a cricketer. I come from a country where our temperament and our climate is not suitable, really, for cricket. But I'm delighted to do it because cricket is one of the sports which doesn't bother me all the time to be added to the Olympic program. And also, I did play very bad cricket when I was working in England some years ago for a team called the Invalids, which featured in a book called by Archie MacDonald. I had a very bad eye, and I always played long stop. I was extremely good at the after cricket, or speaking in the Olympic first language, at l'après-cricket, where one used to spend a lot of time in village pubs. But the further thing is that as far as the presentation is concerned, I would like to make a reference to those who were not successful, because David Wilkie, Alan Pascoe, and all the other competitors and possible competitors on the stage here or right through the country will be competing this year in the Olympic Games. I wish them all great success. And I would like to remind you that I read in the papers that they will be seen on BBC television. But in the meanwhile, I feel that it's a great privilege for myself to give David Steele this award on behalf of the BBC, because there's nobody who has set a greater example of sportsmanship. And whether we're interested in amateur or professional sport, it's the type of example set by David Steele which inspires people, a true sportsman. And I'm delighted to be able to make this presentation tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the sports viewers for voting me this award for 1975. This has been a wonderful year for me in more ways than one, and I would like to thank them once again for this wonderful trophy. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
And so, with another sporting year virtually over, perhaps David Steele will now be left in peace to demolish a few more of those lamb chops. Well, I wonder who will stand in his place in 12 months' time at the end of an Olympic year. 1976 has all the promise of a vintage sporting year, and we hope very much we'll have the pleasure of your company on BBC television. From all of us here in the television theatre, a very good night. Well, Lord Killanin, ladies and gentlemen, you've been a marvellously appreciative and, I hope, an audience...
So, well done to Ramshaw Youth Club. Well, I hope you've enjoyed Super Dance 84. I'd like to thank our judges for all their fantastic work. Also, Black Lace, Billy Ocean, and my friends from Radio 1. Thank you for watching. We will leave you with the winning dancers from Super Dance 84. And from everyone here at the Hammersmith Palais in London, may we wish you... See you.